Hi, welcome to our final week of our Winter Break Creative Challenge. This week, our challenge is to put a recipe together. Because who doesn't like a little, it's snowing outside, winter baking? So, we're going to start in InDesign. I'm going to show you a few of my favorite tricks. Hopefully, you'll find some new things that you also love to do in InDesign. Again, we're going to be using our libraries, going to be using some of the things we've created earlier during our challenge. And then we're going to move into Adobe Spark. Now we've used Post, but this time we're going to use Page. So you're going to love getting into Spark Page and seeing all the creative things you can do with that. So two options: get in and get creating and share your work with us. All right, let's go ahead and dive in and look at InDesign. I have the example of kind of where we're headed today, give you an idea of what we'll be creating and some of the things I'm going to show you. We'll come back to this, but let's head back to the home page of InDesign and just give you a kind of an overview of navigation here. So just like when we were talking about Photoshop yesterday, you have your what's new over here on the right hand side. You have your recent documents, and you can always begin by creating a new document. When I created this first document, I just decided to do a default letter size. So let's go back to our document, and I'm just going to add an additional page to this. I could add it right down here, but I'm actually going to do this through our document setup, and I'm going to set them up on opposite pages, or facing pages, just so I can make sure I'm headed in the right direction here. So there we go, we've got our opposite page here, and I just put up default margins for this. By the way, the quick keyboard shortcut to reveal and hide is the W. So that gives you a preview without those non-printing guides. So to get us started, let's talk about placing photos. So we're going to start by placing this first image. So if I do Command D and grab my photo and open, this photo is super big. So I'm going to have to scale it and really kind of work with it. That's more than I want to do. So alternatively, what I can do is create a shape, and I'm just using my rectangle frame tool. And with that selected, File Place or Command D, and then that photo places inside there. Now, just to note, I kind of have two ways to select this photo. If I click on the inside, and you can see that brown, I've got the innards selected. If I click kind of closer to the edge, I have that frame selected. So the frame lets me move the whole image, but the innards would let me move that part of it. So if I want to kind of scale this a little bit more to fit, I can do that. To scale, I just want to make sure I'm holding Shift and Command, and then I let go of my mouse or trackpad, and then those modifier keys of Shift Command. So we've got that photo placed, and we have our libraries with all of our colors, and I can certainly add some of these to my swatches if I want to. So if I wanted to add these, I just Control click, add theme to swatches, and that adds those themes to my swatches. Notice it brings in that name, so that's really helpful. I can also, inside of InDesign, pull colors from this image. So I'm going to go over to my toolbar, And right underneath my eyedropper, I have my color theme tool. And I can click on my photo and it'll select my colors. I can use this arrow to select a different combination of those colors. And then I can add those to my swatches as well. That just allows me to match colors directly to a photo. Let's go ahead and place our recipe in here. So I actually have this recipe inside of Microsoft Word. So I can place a Word file with Command D just like before. Now I want to point out a couple of things for you. You do have this import options. So if you're bringing in a layered file, that's a cool thing to kind of look at some of the options you might have. So I'm going to hit open. And when it brings this in, it brings in all the formatting for Microsoft Word. So this includes a font, and I don't actually have that font. And I know that when I place it because it has that pink. So whenever you see that pink, that's a sign you don't have that font. So let's dig in here and start working with finding a new font. So I'm going to switch back over to my properties panel. And we're going to start looking at these paragraph styles. Now, if you're not on the version of InDesign that I am, or maybe you've changed your workspace, just a couple of things. I'm in the Essentials workspace, not the Essentials Classic. And if you don't see this text style panel right away, just go to Styles and then Paragraph Styles, and it'll open there. So I'm going to first select all this text, and one of the things I can do immediately under Character is find a new font. And I'm going to take away this filter. There we go. So it's offering me some options, and a couple of these are some recently used options, and this is the one I'm going to use. So I'll select that. And now notice I have some different options here. So I'm going to add this to my normal font. I'm just going to go into Basic, and I'm going to make sure it's that font that we just chose. I can just drop down and I either type in or choose that font. So that means this is my normal basic text, and I'm also going to change my paragraph alignment because it brought that in as well. So notice normal is now applied to this text. So I've kind of changed some of the formatting. One of the other things that happens with Microsoft Word sometimes is it can bring in a weird RGB black. You'll just want to make sure if you place from Word that you go in and select black as an option. So I'm going to highlight my headline, and we're going to change the size of the font. We're going to keep it the same font, but we're just going to change the size of it, and I think we'll change the color as well. So we can go down to that theme that we just added and choose one of those colors. Now let's say that I'm going to be doing several recipes. Let's say I'm making a recipe book, and I don't want to remember what color did I use, what size did I use. I can add a new paragraph style. So I'm just going to select that headline, and then up here under paragraph styles, I'm going to hit this plus mark. And so I'm going to just call this my recipe headline and hit return. So that means anytime I want to apply that, I simply select the text, drop down, and choose that. So I'll take that off. So now let's look at some of these other things I can use. So I'm going to highlight my text, and I'm going to scroll down because I want to add some bullets to these. Now notice it moved a couple of things. That's because it's bringing in some of that, again, that word formatting. So I just want to come in and kind of clean that up a little bit, remove some of those things. So I'll remove that from these as well, and just kind of clean that up. There we go. So I've got those formatted. Now I want to point out a couple of things to you. So I've got my bullets in here and I like them, but let's say I want to change the way those look. Just next to where it says bullets and numbering, I can go into options and choose different types of characters. So if I feel like maybe this might be more festive, I could use that. I can also add new bullets just by searching through different fonts. So if I want to maybe use this open circle instead, I can add that, hit OK, and select that. Now I'm pretty happy with the bullets and the size I have now, so I'm going to go ahead and leave those. And for some weird reason, it looks like this changed on me. Let's see if we can get that fixed again. Oh, okay, so it's this. Sometimes it's an issue of all the returns that Word puts in there. There we go. So let's continue to just do some edits here. Now with this, I kind of like the idea of indenting this a little bit. So I'm going to select that. And here's how I can just do an indent. You don't want to do tabs inside of InDesign. What you want to do is use your paragraph styling. And I'm going to just do a first line left indent of 1 pica. The other thing I want to think about when I'm working is how can I create some bold? Well, let me show you a trick here. There is not a bold for this option, for this font. And I can search and see, oh, actually it's listed separately. So just keep that in mind. Another trick you can do, because those are actually slightly different, is add a stroke. So if I add a stroke of black, and we'll want it to be smaller than this, I have in effect bolded that text. So those are a couple of ways you can get around font options. So let's do that easy apply trick here, and I'm actually going to change my leading right here. So leading is your space between lines, and most of the time that auto just doesn't work for me. So we're going to select some of our text, again hit that plus mark, and I'm going to say this is my ingredient box. So now I can select these ingredients and just add that ingredient box. Now, notice it pulled this text and I didn't want it to. That's just an issue of some of the weird returns we have floating in here from our Word file, and we can just change that back to our normal. So looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and put a return in here, and I'm going to take off that bullet. There we go. So liking what I'm doing with my ingredients so far, looking pretty good. And now I'm looking at this and I think I might want my text to be a little smaller down here. I don't think I need all of it to be 12 point. So let's say I actually want to change it in the ingredients. Here's how I do that. I'm going to go up to my paragraph styling and I'm going to click on that down arrow, edit, basic character formats, and I'm going to change them to 10 point. And I'm going to change my leading to 10 point and hit OK. And now it automatically changed all of that font. I didn't have to go through and select anything. It did it for me. So that paragraph styles will save you a lot of time. Let's add another photo. And so again, I'm going to Command D and bring in this image. And so notice, because I have my text box, that's where it placed. I can just Command Z, place this over here. Now I'm ready to scale this. So again, I want to make sure I have my frame selected, so that blue selection, and I'm going to hold down Shift and Command and just get this photo placed right in here. So let's see how it's looking so far. So one of the things that I've done over here that I really kind of like is that black stroke. So I'm going to select both of my images, go to my stroke, just like when we learned about all the stroke features in Illustrator, very similar. And we're just going to add a 0.5 black stroke. So I'm liking that. Looks like what we need to do next is add our title. So create my text box. Inside my character panel, I can filter. So I'm going to filter for a script font. That one's, and when you choose script fonts, one of the things you want to look for is just to make sure that it's a readable font. Make that a little larger. Let's see, I'm kind of liking that. That looks nice. And so we can change our color as well. So I'm going to change it to one of the colors we picked from our photo. I'm liking that gold. That looks pretty good. And you can really see the effect of that leading here. That's a lot of space. So let's change that. I think we could even, there we go. So I'm liking that. Now I'm putting this on here. I want to show you an interesting trick that you can do, and this is a brand new feature in InDesign 2021. So if you don't have the most recent, you may not be able to find this. So I'm going to select my photo, and you're probably familiar with text wrap. So in the past, text wrap has been basically wrapping around some simple shapes, or you have to make a clipping path for it to wrap around. There's a new option. So I'm going to select Wrap Around Object Shape, and under my contour options, I'm going to add Select Subject. And you can see what it did is used Adobe's AI system and read the object in that photo, and now our text will wrap around that. So as I move this, my text is wrapping. So kind of an interesting feature, pretty handy if you ask me. Here's another trick, because you can see our font is getting a little bit lost in here, is you can add a stroke or a drop shadow to kind of just give it a little presence. So I'm going to select my font, pop into my stroke, add that, and usually if you do this, you want it to be a much smaller stroke, so we'll pop that in. And there we go. I wanted to add just a couple of things about how you can share this out. So the easiest way, of course, is to use a PDF. So typically what I do, if it's just something I'm sharing and I don't have printer specific information I need to worry about, just Adobe PDF presets, high quality print, using that same name, hit save. I can decide in this case I've got a couple of different pages, so I'm just going to do page 3, and accept the defaults and export that page. A couple of other things you can do. So, and again, this is an updated version of InDesign. If I hit the share button, I have a bunch of quick links for that. So I've got a quick export as a PDF. I also have a package. So let's say that I was going to come back and work on this, and I want to make sure that I've pulled all of my fonts, my photos, everything together. I can package that. That's really great if you're working in a group setting and maybe you need to share all of your sources with someone else, or if you're like me and you never keep track of where your links are. Next, I can share for review. So share for review allows me to create a online share document that then someone else can mark up. So think of this as almost like a little Google Drive link. So here's what this looks like. So I can share this with someone else who has an InDesign account, and they can come in and make comments and all of that. So that's a great way to share. And then finally, publish online. So if you haven't experimented with Publish Online, it is one of my favorite things to publish online. So I'm going to go ahead and publish that. I'm going to allow people to download it as a PDF. Name this. And publish. So now this is a web page, and what's really neat about this is I can just click and share this. Remember, I put a PDF download so viewers can then download that PDF. And if I come in and then, let's say I make changes to things, publish online again, and I can just update the existing document. So it's a super cool way to share different things. So you've got several ways to share your recipes with us. All right, let's get into Spark Page and see how you can create your recipe web page. So to get started, I'm just going to hit my blue plus, and what I want to create is the web page. And the great thing about Spark Page is it really guides you through what you need to do. So you have all these visual prompts. I'm actually going to come over here and start with themes. So you can see I've got some brand themes in here, but I also have some Spark themes. So the Spark themes give me a certain font, some colors, and you can see those choices. So really kind of you just want to make sure that your topic and your theme work well together. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one. It's similar in that font style to what we did in InDesign. So let's go ahead and type our holiday recipe title, and then our subtitle is going to be so now we need to add a photo to our background. So we can click photo. Again, we can find free photos or we can upload. So let's upload what we did before as our main photo. There it is. And the cool thing about this photo is if I had brought in, say, a more vertical photo, it would really be, I have a focal point, so I can draw this around depending on where I want to create focus, and then save. So now I'm ready to add some text. So as I hit that text button, you can see all the different styles that I can add. The H1, H2 are a reference to web styling. So this is like a headline, a subhead. We have a quote. There's our bullets. So we can get started on creating holiday recipe cards. So I'm going to go ahead and use a quote. And I'm just going to say that. And the cool thing about this is if I want to change, I can just highlight and change. So now I'm ready to kind of copy and paste my text in. So I'm going to start with my ingredients, and I can just hop over to Word, copy my text, click my plus, going to add that text, have that text inside with the bullet points, and paste. And you can see it copied that style. Now I want to have that subhead, because we've got the filling, and the cool thing is if I decide, I need a little headline, there we go. So you can see how easy it is to add text in there, style it in whatever way I want. If I had something that was linking to another web page, I could add a link. Very handy. So let's look at some of the other options we can add. Let's say that I've created a video of me making this recipe. I can add that video. I can't upload it here, but if I've already uploaded it to these sources, I could add that. I can add additional step-by-step photos if I had those. And there's some cool things I can do as far as adding photo grids, photo slideshows, and different split layouts. So with that split layout, that might be an interesting way to show some step-by-step. So get into Spark Page. One of the cool things I love about Spark Page is when I publish and share this link, I can make sure I'm given credit for it. Once I create this link never changes. So I can share it with people, but then I can go back and make changes and update that link, and those changes are then viewable to whoever I shared it with. I can also use this as like a presenter. So I can go into presentation mode and just arrow through and present that. So it's kind of an alternative to something like PowerPoint or Keynote as well. So happy creating. Share either your InDesign page or your Spark page with us so we can get some delicious recipes.